Breaking news out of Pennsylvania today. Former President Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, rushed off the stage after what sounded to be potentially gunfire, but we don't know. Authorities have not confirmed what that was. You hear loud popping. Trump reaches for his ear. You can see some blood in there after. Secret Service jumps up on stage, rushes him off. And now the latest we have on the former president's health, his team says he's okay, he's recovering, and they're checking him out right now. And so, and sorry, Crutch, I was not looking at the screen, but if we do have that clip, if we can play that from the beginning when you get a chance here so we can take a look exactly at what happened here at this stage. Just let me know when that's ready. Here we go. Here it is. And there you see it there. This particular clip did not have the audio. We will get that for you so we can go back through and you can hear it. But that was when the... Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
And you'll see here in a moment the Secret Service is trying to lock things down. And former president will get up here and momentarily and give an indication to the crowd that he's okay. And yeah, and actually you just hear that in that audio, guys. Let's go. I'm going to bring in, I've got CBN's Chuck Holton with me now, and I also have CBN's David Brody as well to get reaction here to what we know so far. And actually, that's the first time, and we'll go back through this again and play to get the audio from the beginning. But actually, you just hear one of the authorities in that clip saying, "Shoot her down." And I had not noticed that the first time that I went through this clip. So, Chuck, I'll start with you. What is your reaction to this? I know you've had a chance to review the clip.
Well, my reaction is that this is obviously an assassination attempt, and from all appearances, it looks like Donald Trump just missed being assassinated by about a half an inch because the bullet appeared to pass through his ear. There are some photographs that are coming out that are higher resolution that literally show him with a hole in his right ear. You can see him there pumping his fist and saying, "Fight, fight, fight." The most amazing thing I've seen so far is that CNN on their website doesn't even show that there were shots fired. It just says that Secret Service rushed Trump off the stage after he fell at a rally, and says nothing about the shooting. So unbelievable there. Now, as you just heard, we heard the gunshots, and I can tell you, I've been shot at many times. Those were gunshots, without a doubt. And you saw the Secret Service respond in literally less than 3 seconds. They were on top of him. Trump, for his part, responded just like he should have by getting down on the ground. And you hear the Secret Service agents say, "Shoot her down," after they come up on the stage. There's obviously large numbers of Secret Service and SWAT teams and that sort of thing that are now swarming the area. This was not one shot. It sounded like a half a dozen shots. And so it looks like we just narrowly missed having the major candidate for the Republican Party assassinated on the campaign trail. Now, this is something that we've been seeing more of, believe it or not, across Latin America. I'm coming to you from Panama today, but we've seen more of this across Latin America over the last couple of years. If we go back to 2018, Jair Bolsonaro was the subject of an assassination attempt, a stabbing attack. He was stabbed in the stomach at a campaign rally in September of 2018. He survived and went on to win the presidential election. Also in Ecuador, more recently, last year in August, the former journalist and legislator, his name was Fernando Villavicencio, an Ecuadorian presidential candidate, was shot and killed last August. I guess the fact that Donald Trump was not killed in this, I think we should go to David Brody and ask him. My question for David would be, does this improve Trump's chances of winning the White House?
Yeah, hey. We'll bring David Brody in now. Go ahead. Like to get your reaction to, I know you're trying to gather information now from your sources, but your initial reaction to what we just saw happen here today.
Sure. A couple things. Obviously, good to see you, Chuck. Not under these circumstances, obviously. In answer to Chuck's question right off the bat, yeah, 100%. I mean, now you can add the martyr label as well. Obviously, he is fine, but the fact that there was some sort of, as Chuck says, we believe to be an assassination attempt. We'll hedge it for now. We'll see what happens as we get more information. That no doubt is going to help Trump's case politically even more. But of course, politics on the side here for a second. Look, first of all, let me give you some information here. The Trump campaign has come out with this. Here's a quote. This is a statement from the Trump campaign. President Trump thanks law enforcement and first responders for their quick action during this heinous act. He is fine and is being checked out at a local medical facility. More details will follow. My sources also on the ground tell me folks that are with him, that are inside with him, say he is fine as well. So that computes on both ends. As for what we've just seen, I mean, it's mind-blowing. I mean, I'll give you a personal anecdotal story, not anecdotal, but I'll just tell you a personal story. I mean, we're all here on a Saturday doing whatever we're doing, family outings and everything. I'm at a birthday party here, and all of a sudden I'm seeing what's happening, and everything changes. So look, I think ultimately here, there's going to be a lot of questions, specifically about the violence and the rhetoric that we've heard. A lot of times what we hear from the media actually is we hear that it's the MAGA fanatics, that they're the ones that are hell bent on destruction and violence. But now we see President Trump getting what we believe. We're not sure if he was shot. We don't have the exact details, but something clearly happened to where his ear is in a whole lot of mess and a problem. So we just don't know. But I will say this, and once again, I'm not trying to link the two. Where's that screenshot real quick? I wanted to show that screenshot. I don't want to link the two, but I do want to read you something that Joe Biden said on July 8th, 4 days ago. Do we not have that? No, we don't have that. But I'll get it real quick. But he talked about Trump being in the bullseye. It's time to put Trump in the bullseye, is what he said.
Well, yeah.
And that was 4 days ago. And I'll get you the exact quote. Now, once again, I'm not trying to say these are tied together. I'm just trying to make the point that type of rhetoric from the unity president that we heard so much about is part of what we just talked about here. Here's the quote. This is what Biden said at the time, July 8th, 4 days ago, quote, I say 4 days ago, I guess that would be 5 days ago. I have one job, and that's to beat Donald Trump. I'm absolutely certain I'm the best person to be able to do that. So we're done talking about the debate. It's time to put Trump in a bullseye. Now, obviously, he was talking about political bullseye. But the point is, when you use that language, conservatives have been beat up over that type of language. And now we have it coming from the president. And now we see this transpire 5 days later. There'll be a lot of questions asked.
Well, yeah, David, I wanted to get your reaction to just exactly that, the rhetoric, because the Democrats have just come off a season here in which they essentially have been trying to convict Trump of any crimes that may have happened on January 6th based on the things he said leading up to those riots at the Capitol there, the people going and entering into the Capitol building here. So if they're consistent on this, you would think you'd have to apply this same logic to all of the rhetoric saying that Trump is a threat to democracy. That is the thing we keep hearing over and over and over again, is how big of a threat Trump is to democracy. So will we see the same calls for toned down rhetoric in the coming days?
Well, we'll hear those calls, but let me say something that I think is more prevalent at this point. The MAGA crowd for the last few months has been talking about exactly what we saw today. In other words, they believe that the Trump derangement syndrome crowd is out to get Trump in some form or fashion. And of course, we've heard about the weaponization of government. And we've heard about this idea. Well, of course, Donald Trump's standing trial, convicted in one and waiting for trial in three others, that somehow, some way, the left, this is the MAGA narrative. The MAGA narrative is that the left is somehow going to get Trump. They're going to figure out a way to get him. Whether it be through the justice system, whether it be through ballot harvesting and certain lack of election integrity and those type of avenues. And then in the last few months, we've heard from MAGA folks, pretty mainstream MAGA folks, I'm not talking about fringe here, saying, look, they might even try to assassinate the guy. Now, once again, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting that this was that. But what I am saying is that that was in the atmosphere in the last few months. So I'm putting it out there to give you context as to what was said in the MAGA universe.
Yeah. And just to update you all, if you're just joining us now on this stream, former President Trump, there was a security incident. Our own war correspondent, Chuck Holton, here just moments ago is saying that to him and his trained ears, that sounded like gunshots. And you could see former President Trump had some sort of wound on the right side of his face, his ear, or just above his ear. And there's been no official word on what it is exactly. But as we also noted when we played the clip, which we'll play here in a moment, you could hear one of the security officers apparently saying, shoot her down. And so we'll see what that means exactly here when we get official word. We don't want to jump to conclusions here at all, but we'll just call it like we see it, and we'll wait till we see the official word before we go on that. And so we don't know anything about a potential shooter yet. We don't know who, we don't know what, we don't know why, we don't know their status. As soon as we know that, we will get that information to you. I wanted to go through a couple reactions here, David, as we just talked about. What's the response going to be? We've got, Leader McConnell saying tonight all Americans are grateful that President Trump appears to be fine after a despicable attack on a peaceful rally. Violence has no place in our politics. Governor Wes Moore said, I condemn in the strongest possible terms what has happened in Pennsylvania today to President Trump. Political violence is never acceptable, ever. This kind of cowardice must be roundly condemned by all Americans. And as Chuck Schumer released a statement as well, I am horrified by what happened at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania and relieved that former President Trump is safe. Political violence has no place in our country. So that is some of the reaction that's coming in right now to really shocking scenes that we saw play out in Butler, Pennsylvania, just not long ago, this evening at a campaign rally for former President Trump. And according to Secret Security, he is doing fine and being checked out at a local medical facility. So, all right, Chuck, let's go back to you here. I mean, we haven't gotten the official word yet, but let's watch that again. Crutch, if we can play that clip. We didn't have the audio the first time around, but I want to play the clip. We'll let it roll through, and then we'll respond after we see it.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move to the spare. Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready. We ready? Go. Go. Zombie, good to move. We're clear. Let's move. We're clear.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus.
Let me get my shoes.
Okay. Watch out.
I hear the chants of USA breaking out there. If those indeed were gunshots, which we're waiting for confirmation on that. I mean, we haven't heard any word yet. I saw some people in the chat. Thank you all for joining us here on this chat. Horrible circumstances, unfortunately, but we don't know if anybody else was wounded. Obviously, a big crowd there, and so we don't have word on that. Go ahead. Yeah, you wanted to jump in.
Yeah, let me say.
So,
go ahead, Chuck. Chuck, go ahead.
Okay, the local law enforcement, from what I'm seeing here, is reporting that there were there were more people shot, and apparently, what I'm seeing, there may actually have been someone who is deceased that is a Trump supporter, and so I'm just, again, this is all coming in very, very quickly, and so it's hard to kind of keep up. But Donald Trump's motorcade was seen speeding away from the scene to an undisclosed location. And this is from Twitter handle OSINT. This is an open source intel guy that I follow, saying that the local law enforcement agencies are reporting at least one other deceased besides the shooter. We heard there in that video where they said shoot her down. Now, let me just say, I counted the number of shots that time, and we heard 5 or 6 shots in the initial volley, and then a large volley of shots after that. That was likely Secret Service returning fire. Yeah. That's what it sounded like to me. Yes. And then we heard, after about 15 or 20 seconds, another volley of shots, which could have also been the Secret Service guys returning fire. Now it shows
Chuck,
two. I know, David, you've been to a lot of these rallies. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, we got a little delay, Chuck. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to jump in here to confirm what you were saying. At least from Washington Post reporter Merrill Cornfield.
Yes.
Said Butler County District Attorney Richard Goldinger tells me Trump was grazed by gunfire but is safe. An audience member was killed and the shooter is dead. Another person is in serious condition. That's according to the prosecutor. So I just wanted to get that out there, that is coming from a Washington Post reporter getting information on the ground there. So I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Look, he's surrounded by people, and all those bullets have to go somewhere. So it's not surprising if more people were struck by that gunfire. And so we need to pray for those people as well. You could tell the people in the stands behind him were looking off to the right of the screen, which would have been Donald Trump's left. And when the shooting started, now Trump turned to the right when the shooting started. That's not uncommon, because when you're being shot at, it's very difficult sometimes to tell the direction of the fire, because when the bullet goes by, it's breaking the sound barrier, and what you hear is that snap of it breaking the sound barrier. And so if the bullet goes by you, the sound comes at a perpendicular angle from where the shooter actually is. And so what we're taught in the military is that if you hear a shot and it sounds like it's off to your right, it's probably either in front of you or behind you. And that, as it turns out, sounds like what it may have been. Trump turned one direction and then got down on the ground, but all the people eventually looked over to the left. And so it looks like that maybe that's where the action was, over there. It certainly was not a suppressed weapon. At least I see some people in the chat postulating it may have been a suppressed weapon. No, it's just that microphones will make it sound like a suppressed weapon when you're videotaping in combat and there's gunfire. The microphones very often are tuned to cut out a very, very loud noise, and so you'll hear a shot and it doesn't sound very loud in on the camera.
Right. Yeah, a lot louder in person. Yes, I've experienced that same thing myself, and I know exactly what you're talking about is 100% true. Pennsylvania Republican Senate candidate Dave McCormick was sitting in the front row, told Politico that it appeared someone behind him was shot. And he said, all of a sudden, shots started to crack. Someone behind me appears to have been shot. There's lots of blood, and then Secret Service were all over President Trump. Just a horrible scene unfolding out here today in Pennsylvania at a Trump rally. Go ahead, David.
We have not yet heard a couple of things. On Dave McCormick, if you don't mind, I don't know what your split screens look like, and if you can take me off camera for a second, because what I'm going to do is I know Dave McCormick. That's new information that you just explained. I'm going to text him right now, and his wife Dina Powell, who used to be at the National Security Council. Let me get with them, see what they know, and I'll come right back with you. I won't hang up the call, but I want to find out what's going on. So you might want to take me off screen for that, because I'll go blank here in a moment. As for Joe Biden, President Biden has been informed apparently of the shooting, but we have yet to see any official statement or anything on social media so far. As for the security at these events, as Chuck was saying, yeah, I mean, I go to so many of these. It's pretty standard security. I mean, as you've seen, those long lines, the reason they're long lines are two reasons. One, Trump's popular, but two, they do a pretty thorough job of making sure, that nothing nefarious is getting into these rallies. So it's pretty painstaking to go through the mags, as they like to say. Having said that, and Chuck can speak to this, I would think, obviously, that doesn't mean someone can't, somehow get something in there, in some sort of form or fashion, maybe something, I don't want to call it low grade, but something, a little bit smaller or something that can do damage. So I'll let Chuck speak to that. But having said that, the rallies obviously are very, very well protected, typically.
Yeah.
I've got some people texting me some sources. Let me look at that if you don't mind, and I'll come back
go ahead.
in a moment.
Go ahead. Let us know when you have something, and just hop right on in. And Chuck, I wanted to ask you more about that. This is CBN's Chuck Holton with us now, our war correspondent. You see Chuck live on this YouTube channel very frequently. And Chuck, David was talking about the security at these events. And I'm wondering, okay, if there is somewhat, you got to go through a line or whatever. I know sometimes these outdoor ones, maybe the entire perimeter is not secured. Maybe you can wander up. I guess I'm wondering is how do you think they were able to get a gun into this thing? If I don't think we have the exact specifics yet on what the security was like, what the level was, but what would you say was most likely happened for them to get that gun in there?
I've been to a couple of these events, and they are very well attended, as you can imagine. The crowds have been absolutely massive. The security, as David said, is pretty tight, and you have to submit your name ahead of time. They have to do a background check and that sort of thing. And then you do go through like an airport scanner, metal detector on your way into the venue, typically. Now, I don't know exactly what the security was at this venue, but they encompass such a large area, and there's so many people that it is not impossible. It would not be impossible at all. And I've often thought that despite the security, if somebody was really determined to get a gun in there, they could likely do it. Now, there is, I'm just going to report this. Again, we don't have confirmation of this yet, but this is now starting to make the rounds on Twitter that the Butler Police Department in Pennsylvania is confirming the arrest of the Trump shooter, identified as, well, I'm not going to say his name. I don't think we should say names of these guys, but he's a known Antifa extremist. He uploaded a video on YouTube before the attack claiming justice was coming. So I'm out there looking now to see if I can find that video. Okay. But that's making the rounds of Twitter right now, just to, again, has not been corroborated. I'm sure we'll find out more as time goes on.
Yeah.
But like I say, these rallies are very, very well attended. And with tens of thousands of people, you can imagine what a nightmare of security that has to be for these Secret Service agents. And I just have to say, kudos to these guys in the Secret Service, because they immediately ran right up there and tackled Donald Trump, who's already on the ground, put their bodies between him and any potential threat, and did exactly what they should have done. And not only that, but from the sounds of things, they also responded with force to the shooter and put him down, according to what we heard on that video. So again, very, very chaotic scene. The Twitter space is absolutely exploding right now, with everything from conspiracy theories to the people on the left saying that already that this was a false flag operation that was done by the by the Republicans. So
yeah,
it's going crazy. This is the difficulty that we have as journalists during an event like this in today's modern age. The first source of news in many cases, when you're not there at the event, is Twitter, Telegram, and places like that, where people can very quickly post information. But that also means that the information is difficult to verify. And so we have to take all these things with a grain of salt and be very, very careful about what we believe before we get that confirmation.
Yeah. And Washington, or the AP, is saying that the shooter's dead. And a rally attendee was killed at this Trump event in Pennsylvania, as we've been talking about, in Butler County District Attorney. That's the information coming to AP from the Butler County District Attorney. And as we had heard those apparent shots on the clip that we played, you could hear the authorities saying, "Shooter down." Liz Cheney is responding now. Reports of the shooting in Pennsylvania are horrifying. Violence of any kind has no place in American politics. We're grateful for the reaction of Secret Service and other law enforcement, and pray for the former president and all those injured. And, to your point about the security there, Chuck, we got a report here that said the event was secured by the U.S. Secret Service, and that, quote, everybody in the space had to be screened by metal detectors and officers. So, again, pretty incredible how that thing was able to get through. And I know, Chuck, you said the noise is sort of muted, for gunshots when you hear them from camera to what they sound like in real life. Did you have any thoughts onto what type of gun that may have been, just from what you heard?
No, it's impossible to say, but I'm would bet my bottom dollar that it was a pistol of some sort, because it would have been extremely difficult to smuggle in anything larger than that. We're in a day and age where you can literally 3D print pistols out of plastic, and they're not going to last very long. They may not be very accurate at long range, but at close range, it wouldn't be impossible to do. Now, I doubt that is what happened here, but you never know. And again, with that many people around in such a large area to secure, it certainly is not outside the realm of possibility that a guy could get a gun in there. And he would have had to have gotten pretty close to take that shot. If you are a well-trained pistol shot, you can hit something maybe up to 30 yards. That's 90 feet with open sights. If you have electronic sights, you might be able to get a little more accurate than that. But in a stressful situation, which obviously the shooter's adrenaline is going to be pumping if he's about to try to assassinate the presidential candidate for the Republicans, I would be surprised if he was not, if he was much more than 20 or 30 yards away. And especially to have gotten that close, and other than it just being a lucky shot, to have grazed the president's ear. That means the president President Trump came within about a half an inch of being killed. And that's absolutely horrific to even think of. So the information is going on. I'm watching through these the video again of the shooting. What's interesting is that there are a lot of people in the crowd who get very angry as Trump is being bundled into his limo and pulling away. There are a lot of people in the crowd who are jumping up and down and flipping the bird back toward away from the stage. So not on either side of the stage, not behind the stage, back where the cameras are. And they may be angry at the cameraman. They may be, the media back there. Obviously, Trump rallies are kind of known for being hostile to the media. But you see some very, very angry people that are jumping up and down and flipping the bird to somebody or something that's back, like right in front of the stage. So again, as I go through this video, you watch him. He's speaking. He's pointing at off to the right. You hear the pop, 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 and he flinches and grabs his ear and immediately gets down. He's already looking to the right. So that doesn't necessarily mean that he heard the gunshot from the right. Everybody else, after just a few seconds, starts looking off to the left. I'm watching the Secret Service. They are pointing off to the left and running off to the left. And now, within a few seconds, there are guys with helmets and carbines that are sprinting off to the left of the stage. So I would venture to say that that's the direction the threat came from. When the guys that are all kitted up, the SWAT team, I think they're Secret Service guys, but they're carrying long guns. When they get up on the stage, most of their attention is directed off to the left. And the guy who says shoot her down is on the left side of the stage. And so I would, again, the news we're hearing now, it sounds like you just corroborated it, Dan, from the AP, is that the shooter was killed in an exchange of gunfire by the Secret Service.
Yeah, and that's multiple reports about that now. And I saw some people in the comments saying, so the bullet grazed Trump's ear, but then didn't hurt anyone. And actually, no, that's not what happened at all. Somebody at the rally, one of the attendees of the Trump rally, was indeed killed. There's another reportedly in critical condition. So it's exactly what happened. The bullet missed President Trump barely, as Chuck said, by just mere inches from a potentially fatal wound, and it did kill somebody else. So obviously this was an assassination attempt. And so if you're just joining us now, again, the news is shocking. Former President Trump, there was an attempt on his life today at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, which is out west Pennsylvania, sort of towards Pittsburgh, a little bit north of Pittsburgh. And well, let's roll the clip again. If you haven't seen it, it is shocking. And this is President Trump on the stage talking when you hear gunfire ring out and Secret Service jumps into action. Take a look.
At all, that chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that's said, take a look at what happened.
Moving his hair. Hold. When you're ready. On you. Ready. Move. Up. Move. Go. Up. Hawkeye's here. Hawkeye's here. Move to the stair. Stair, get ready. Stair, get ready. We ready? Down. Down. Are we good? Shooters down. Shooters down. Are we good to move? Shooters down. We're good to move. Clear. Let's move. Let's move. We're clear.
And so there you have it. And in a moment here, you'll see the former president get to his feet and then raised his fist to the crowd to signify that he's okay.
So we gotta move to the bus. Watch out.
And you hear the chants of USA breaking out. This was the shocking scene earlier today in Western Pennsylvania at a Trump rally where a shooter had an assassination attempt, an attempt on former President Trump's life. It grazed his ear. It looked like his right ear as he was speaking and facing to the right. And then he ducked down as you could hear the sound of gunfire, and Secret Service jumped into action. You could hear the Secret Service on the tape, or some authority saying that the shooter is down. And unfortunately, a Trump attendee, a supporter of President Trump is what the report was, that was fatally wounded. And there is another attendee who is in critical condition at this hour. Obviously, our prayers are with everyone impacted by this, but particularly this person who's fighting for their life. And the reports are from Secret Service that President Trump is okay, that he's recovering, that they're just checking him over, but that by and large, given all that's gone down, that he is relatively doing okay. And Nancy Pelosi has posted a statement. She said, "As one whose family has been the victim of political violence, I know firsthand that political violence of any kind has no place in our society. I thank God that former President Trump is safe. As we learn more details about this horrifying incident, let us pray that all those in attendance at the former president's rally today are unharmed." CBN's Chuck Holton is with me. CBN's David Brody is with me as well. He'll be back in a moment.
I'm here.
I'm
here.
David's back. Okay, I'm sorry, David. I knew you had to hop off. But Chuck, go ahead. We just went through the video again. Your thoughts?
I just checked CNN's website again. They're still saying their headline is "Trump injured in incident at Pennsylvania rally."
Oh my goodness.
That's changed from "Trump has a fall in incident at Pennsylvania rally." They still have not said anything about an assassination attempt. Now on X, there are several people who are attendees there who have given interviews now, who are claiming that the shooter was on the roof of a building adjacent to the rally and that he was eliminated by a Secret Service counter sniper team only seconds after he began shooting. So that may mean that he didn't go through the security, but that instead he climbed up on a rooftop and took a shot, which means it could have been some sort of assault rifle or a deer rifle or something like that. Just that's all speculation at this point. We don't know anything about the weapon, but that also means that he wasn't shooting up at the president from the ground on the podium. He was shooting down at the president, and that means that he was without a doubt shooting at all the people that were around the president as well. And that likely is what led to, there's an emergency room doctor here who gave who's there. He's giving an interview covered with blood to Jake Rosen on X, and he says that he tried to save someone's life in the crowd, but the guy was shot in the head and had died. This is just breaking from the site of the incident in Pennsylvania.
Hey guys, you there?
Yes, go ahead, David.
Yeah, so you may have read this. Did you read Schumer yet? I don't know if you got Schumer's statement.
Not for a while. We read it a while back. A lot of people have joined the stream since then. So go ahead and go through it again.
So Schumer stating, "I am horrified by what happened at the Trump rally in Pennsylvania and relieved that former President Trump is safe. Political violence has no place in our country." Hakeem Jeffries also weighing in, saying, "My thoughts and prayers are with former President Trump. I'm thankful for the decisive law enforcement response. Political violence of any kind is never acceptable." By the way, the shooting happened, what would you say, about an hour ago or so, roughly? I'll have to double check the time, but it's about an hour or so, and not a word from President Biden. Not one peep. We've heard from Schumer. We've heard from Jeffries. We've heard from others. Pelosi, you mentioned. I am updating and refreshing constantly. Unless you guys have other information, I do not see any sort of information, a statement from President Biden at this point, which is just.
I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, shocking.
No, have not seen anything from the president yet, other than he was informed of what has happened. So obviously, at this point, pretty much everybody in D.C. should know about what has happened at this point. And we know that he has been informed. So we'll be waiting, and we'll give you his statement as soon as we have it. And so shocking scenes unfolding today. And I mean, we've talked about it, guys, with the rhetoric where it's at, and it's just been escalating and escalating. And you never know when somebody is going to take that rhetoric, and it's difficult to blame somebody for that, but taking the actions of somebody who's unhinged and willing to jump to this level of violence. But the rhetoric has been increased and in recent weeks and months, and as the Biden, the Trump battle has heated up here, as the campaign season has heated up. So, David, what do you see as the conversation surrounding rhetoric happening? Like we talked about earlier, there was a lot of talk about rhetoric during the January 6th trials that Democrats put forward, talking about all this dangerous rhetoric, trying to tie that to Trump to the actions of the people on January 6th. And then now we have this. So what can we expect to see going forward on the topic of rhetoric?
Well, I think we have the mugshot that has now been replaced by the image we saw today of the bloodied Donald Trump with the fist in the air. That's now the shot that I think, so to speak, will be heard around the world. So I think from a political standpoint, I think that's where this is going. In other words, they tried to do, as I said earlier, they tried to weaponize the government against him, right? Throw him in jail. This is the MAGA line. But quite frankly, it's become more than the MAGA line now. Donald Trump leading in the polls. He's attracting independents. He's attracting African-American voters at a record pace. And I go down the line with every demographic group. This has now become the martyr storyline. And I think that's what we have to, I don't want to say look forward to, but that's what we're going to see a lot of throughout the rest of the campaign. So think about it for a second politically. You've got the weaponization of the justice system card. In other words, the mugshot card. You've got now they tried to shoot him card. I mean, my goodness, guys. I mean, have we ever seen all of this kind of in total in American history? I'm not talking about, I mean, we've had horrible things happen in American history to presidents and to former presidents, but have we ever seen this in totality about one thing after another with one individual? There's a lot of folks, Marco Rubio, and I'll just double check this on Twitter because I want to make sure we're getting our facts correct, but he talked about how God protected Trump. I know there's a lot of people that are saying that out in the, here it is, Marco Rubio 1 hour ago, God protected President Trump. He didn't say, please God protect President Trump or prayers or anything. He said, God protected, past tense, President Trump. So I think that's going to be a faith theme, if you will. We're going to hear that a lot. So anyhow, I think those are a couple of the contours going forward.
Yes, it's just honestly a shocking scene that we saw play out today. And
guys?
Yes, go ahead, David.
Barack Obama 3 minutes ago out with a statement, once again, to reiterate before President Biden, for what it's worth. Barack Obama says there is absolutely no place for political violence in our democracy. Although we don't yet know exactly what happened, we should all be relieved that former President Trump wasn't seriously hurt and use this moment to recommit ourselves to civility and respect in our politics. Michelle and I are wishing him a quick recovery. So there's that.
We will have President Biden's statement as soon as he gets to one, or if he gets to one at this point, assuming, of course, that he will. We'll have that for you as soon as that comes out. CBN's Chuck Holden is with us as well. Chuck, this obviously is a really shocking scene that has played out, as I keep saying, but honestly, because I'm watching this clip and it's almost surreal to see that this actually just happened. What do you see going forward as far as like the security at these sort of events? Do you think former President Trump is even thinking about not doing some of these events? Or, I mean, I can't imagine that knowing just him and seeing him in the public eye, I don't know that, I don't think that that's something he would do. What would you expect to see going forward as far as security goes? We got a long way to go on this campaign.
Well, David knows him better than I do, but I can say that the U.S. Secret Service are the best there is. And if I was running for president, I wouldn't slow down a bit, because I would just keep trusting those Secret Service agents. I just went and checked President Biden's Twitter page just to see if maybe he had posted something. The last thing he posted, 8 hours ago, that says the bipartisan bill I signed yesterday will give states the flexibility they need to use grant funding to help prevent stillbirth. So that's the last thing out. Now, President Biden has a team that runs his Twitter account, but you know what's happening right now. Those people are huddled in a room somewhere going, what do we say? What do we do? But every minute that goes by, as David Brody pointed out, it looks worse for President Biden, because he has not come out and said anything about this event. Benjamin Netanyahu just came out with a statement already. And so we find ourselves in this weird kind of la-la land where the presidents of foreign countries around the world are sending their thoughts and prayers to President Trump, while Joe Biden is nowhere to be found. That is pretty astounding, actually. So what I would say going forward is that obviously security is going to be tightened at these events, without a doubt. The events are only going to get bigger because now, I mean, people that were bored with the election are not bored anymore. And they're probably, I can't think of anything that would galvanize the President Trump's base as much as something like this. And as I mentioned before, when Jair Bolsonaro was stabbed at a campaign rally, when he was running for president of Brazil back in 2018, he went on to win the presidency by a landslide. And before that, he was about neck and neck in the polls. So that assassination attempt really helped his campaign. I would venture to say that it'll do the same for President Trump.
And we'll see if law enforcement, if they have any press conferences or anything at some point. Usually there's something, I mean, well, I say usually, but this is kind of unprecedented territory here in recent history. So hard to say whether or not we'll get a press conference from security or not. But Chuck, you had mentioned a little bit ago this unconfirmed video now of potentially somebody on a roof adjacent to the rally, which would explain potentially how someone was able to get a shot off, because as we had talked about, Secret Service did run security for this particular event. And so everyone that had come in had to be screened. And so, you know, as we were talking about, well, how do you get something through a metal detector or a body, check or something like that? Well, if they were stationed nearby on something and hidden, then that could be one explanation, but those reports are unconfirmed. I believe we have that video, but if as soon as we can get to it, we'll show that to you, so that we can take a look at it. Okay, here it is. Yeah, this is the unconfirmed video. We'll say that right now. I want to be very, very careful to let you know that this is not confirmed, that this is where the shooter was, but this is video that has been purported to say that this is there was activity on this roof right after the shooting, and that's purportedly what this video is of. And so if indeed that's the case, and you see that building potentially nearby the rally, and so some sort of like you said, Chuck, a deer rifle or something of that nature potentially could pull off a shot
would have
like that.
been most likely. It had to have been it had to have been a scoped rifle from that distance. And you see there people just sort of staring off there. That what looks like is a body on the roof of that building. Again, unconfirmed, but it does make sense as you go back and watch the video of Donald Trump as he's speaking after the shooting takes place. When there's another video that's making the rounds on Twitter of the law enforcement taking a wounded or perhaps dead person out of the stands behind Donald Trump off it would have been to his right as he was facing the crowd. And so that would mean just, the trajectory of the bullets would have been that the shooter was to his front left, which appears to be where this building is situated. So it makes sense. Now, again, there's a whole lot left that we will find out in the days ahead, but that's what we can tell so far.
Yeah. I just want to reiterate here, guys, as Chuck was saying, that's unconfirmed, but that is a video that's going around. That is a speculation. So we're showing you that video as it's certainly interesting, but again, unconfirmed. So we'll see how that plays out. But just so everyone's aware of that. Go ahead, David.
A couple of things. I'm just getting a few tidbits here. The New York Post is reporting that and once again, I'm attributing this to the New York Post. They are saying that the shooter was a Chinese man. That's all they're saying. Once again, we're not saying it's true necessarily, but it is what the New York Post is reporting. Also, remember I mentioned Dina Powell, or I actually mentioned Dave McCormick. So these are folks that I've known for a while. So just the background, Dave McCormick is running for Senate as the Republican candidate in Pennsylvania. He was there at the rally. Dina Powell is his wife. Dina Powell is the former Deputy National Security Advisor under Trump. I know Dina and Dave very well. I just texted Dina, and Dina responded as follows. Dave, her husband, Dave McCormick, is there. He was about to go on stage, but thank God he is okay. 2 people shot behind him, praying for our country. We all need to pray. So 2 people were shot behind U.S. senatorial candidates, Dave McCormick, there at the rally. That's new information into CBN News here. Unbelievable.
And President Biden apparently has released a statement now.
Yeah.
And it says a statement from President Biden. He said, "I'm grateful to hear that he's safe and doing well. I'm praying for him and his family and for all those who were at the rally as we await further information. Jill and I are grateful to the Secret Service for getting him to safety. There's no place for this kind of violence in America. We must unite as one nation to condemn it." That's the statement from President Biden. If you're just joining us now, this is really sad news today. Former President Trump at a campaign rally in Western Pennsylvania. There was an attempt on his life. A shooter opened fire on the former president as he spoke. Bullet appeared to graze the president, hitting his ear or just above his ear. President then immediately got down to the ground. Secret Service swooped in. Sadly, one attendee from at the Trump rally was killed. Another is in critical condition, fighting for their life right now. The shooter was killed, as according to all the reports out there right now. So that is the information we have right now, and we are going to hopefully be going to CBN's Tara Mergener with more information, the latest details that are coming out right now. But those are the main details that we have right now. Still a lot of details being confirmed as these things go, always being careful not to, there's a lot of things that fly around now on social media. And so sometimes these false reports can go out there. And honestly, sadly, there's people that they kind of make this a thing where they purposely try to mislead people during breaking news, things like this. I see that all the time, and it's just a bizarre thing that people do. So you have to be careful before you start spreading around some of these videos that people purport to be something. You got to wait until multiple sources confirm this. So, this is the timing of this too, guys. David, we'll go to you. The RNC is coming up here in just hours, really. So, what happens here? How does this change things? Obviously, it changes things, but how do you see things going forward there at the RNC?
Hey, are you there?
I'm here, David. Yeah, we can hear you. Did
you hear fine. Sorry, just trying to get some different lighting here. Apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, and the question, I'm sorry, was about the RNC. Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're just talking about how obviously the timing of this is just ahead of the RNC, which is only hours away. How does this change things?
Well, it changes things considerably. I would assume that, well, there's a couple of things here. Think about the scenario for a moment. Donald Trump showing up for his acceptance speech Thursday with a bandaged ear. And he goes on stage and says, I'm moving on and I'm okay. I'm sorry. I think we have some audio. Is that our audio?
Yeah, we're hearing something there.
For a second. My bad. Just 1 second. I apologize.
Oh,
they're recording that the gunman.
You might have to go somewhere else. Sorry about that. Okay, you there? Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good now. The audio's clear.
I apologize. A little technical snafu. Anyhow,
it's all right.
So just imagine him on stage, right? In that situation with a bandaged ear giving his acceptance speech. So we wait for that. It's drama. It's unbelievable if you think about it. The other part of it is, will the Republican National Convention not necessarily be postponed? They have work to do. This isn't about a speech. This is about delegates selecting President Trump. So that should go on as scheduled. But ultimately, will Trump be able to give the speech? And I think that is the other as they like to say, $1 million question at this point. So we wait and see. But I can tell you this, knowing Trump, covering him for, almost close to 15 years now, he's going to want to do everything he possibly can to get out there on Thursday. As we see the video of him with his fist in the air and bloodied, that's the spirit of Donald Trump. And he's going to make sure.
I just want to comment on that, David. That was remarkable. This man just came centimeters from losing his life. This has to be something that he thinks about when he's on the stage speaking regularly, just knowing how divisive the country is right now and how emotional people are on either side of the aisle. It's just remarkable that he had the wherewithal and the desire to signify that. That's going to be a moment that is etched in history. Obviously the assassination attempt, but more importantly, the raised fist. That is going to be something. We'll see exactly what that means down the road, but it was one of those moments that you just get the sense that thing is going to galvanize the Trump base, at least.
Yeah, and they don't need to be galvanized much at this point. It doesn't take anything to galvanize them. Then they're ready to go. But I think that what you saw there in that moment was a culmination of everything since 2015. And what I mean by that, in June of 2015, he glided down that escalator. And ever since then, the media, the Democrats, just on and on have been after him all day long, 24/7. He's been convicted. He has been everything's been thrown at him. They always say everything but the kitchen sink. No, the kitchen sink's been thrown as well. Everything has been thrown at this man, and he's still standing. And today, when he wasn't standing for about, 30 seconds or so, 45 seconds, he got up. And isn't that emblematic? Isn't that pretty symbolic of exactly what Trump has done the last 8 to 9 years now in American politics, that every time they try to take him down, he gets right back up. And so that fist you saw represents so much. And it wasn't just the fist, and it wasn't just the blood. It was the pumping of the fist. It was the scowl that he had on his face. This was 9 years of utter frustration of a man who could have retired a long time ago to his gold-plated toilet and do nothing else in life because he's done everything he needs to do from a business standpoint otherwise. But he decided to say, you know what, I need to save this country. And this is what he's getting. And it culminated today in one of the, it's just a horrible incident. And let's just be clear. I want to circle back to something I said earlier. This is very important because I think it's going to be a storyline going forward. The MAGA crowd, you know, the conspiracy tinfoil hat crowd, you know, the ones that are always told they've got conspiracy tinfoil hats on. They said for months that they were concerned about an assassination attempt on Donald Trump's life. And look at this.
Yep. And it actually happened. And it's just honestly stunning to see this unfold. And also, if you noticed, David, as he was down, you could hear on the audio as he was down and like attempting to get up before he raised the fist. Mm-hmm. He wanted to get his shoes back on. Yeah. He wanted to fix himself up a little bit before he hopped back up. And so, I mean, the guy's the ultimate showman, and he was, you know, still the show must go on. Essentially, it seemed to be the vibe that he wanted to have there, obviously knowing he had to be whisked out of there, not knowing what the danger is. And Chuck, remaining danger was, and Chuck, you know, you mentioned it earlier, you do see like, and right there it is, the secret security officers, you don't know how many shooters there are. You don't know if they're going to continue shooting when you're just right there. They got to hop into action, and they put their bodies right on the line. In that moment, we all saw that unfold right in front of our eyes. And I just, you see a lot of the people responding, thanking the Secret Service for that. And I think, I don't want to understate that scene that you're seeing play out. Those people clearly risked their lives for President Trump there by diving on top of him, because Trump obviously was the target, and they did not hesitate, and they went right in there. And that is certainly to be commended. I mean, that is, you know, we're just so desensitized to things with all the movies we see and stuff, but that is, I mean, those are real heroes in action right there in that moment. We all saw it happen.
Yeah, we've been watching this over and over since we, you know, came online here. And every time I watch it, I see something else that I didn't see before. Yeah. And one of the things I'm noticing is just how chaotic it is for the Secret Service up there. The guys closest to Donald Trump, they do what they're supposed to do. They dive on top of the president, and you know, they try to cover him. He's trying to do his job, which is, you know, win the election. And so he's actually sticking his head up above them, which, you know, if there's a sniper out there, that's not a great thing to do. But again, it just shows Trump is more concerned with, you know, winning this thing. I mean, he is a fighter, and you can tell from watching him on this thing. He's bleeding, and it just makes him mad. And so he looks like he's ready to charge down the steps of that podium and go after the shooter himself. And to me, that is a great thing to see. But I'm also looking at some of the ancillary Secret Service agents who come running in afterward, and you can tell just how much adrenaline is pumping through their veins, because I'm watching this female Secret Service agent who, after they get Trump into the vehicle and start to drive away, she's got her pistol out. So she's trying to put her pistol away, and she can't seem to get it into the holster. And what this tells me, this is something that we talk about a lot when we train with firearms, and that is that you will sink to the level of your training when the chips are down. And when your adrenaline is pumping, you lose that fine motor skill. And so you've got to train and train and train and train. So it's just second nature to do those kinds of things, like changing magazines, putting your weapon away, pulling your weapon out. I noticed some of the Secret Service agents were like, you know, still flagging the crowd with their weapons. Typically, I would say you'd want those weapons to be in a low ready, where they're pointing at the ground and ready to be employed if necessary, but not pointing live weapons at the crowd. But the thing is, these guys, they're trained that if there's one shooter, there's likely more than one shooter. And it could be a double tap. It could be where they shoot once and then the bomb goes off or something else happens. And so those Secret Service agents, you can tell what's going through their mind. They're looking for what's next. Where's the next threat? Even when the people in the crowd, they're pulling out their phones and they're cheering and they're jumping up and down, because to them, the threat is over. But to those Secret Service agents, their adrenaline is still very high because to them, the threat is not over until they can get Trump to a secured location. Again, that just goes back to their training. But I would say that if you're at a event like this and something like this happens, you probably don't want to jump up and start filming it with your phone right away. Although I have to admit, that's probably what I would have done too. But the smart thing to do if you're in a crowd and there is something like that is to stay where you are and not charge the exits, because then you create a even more dangerous situation where people can get trampled to death. And you just get down on the ground and you let law enforcement do what they have to do, because those guys are scanning the crowd for threats. And if you're out there and you're running up with your phone and pointing something at a Secret Service agent whose adrenaline is very, very high, that's a really good way to get yourself shot right then, because those guys cannot afford to give you the benefit of the doubt at that point. Now, thank God for the high level of training for the Secret Service that they didn't end up shooting any of the people who were pointing cell phones at them. But I'm just saying, by way of suggestion, if you happen to find yourself in a situation like that, it probably would be a good idea not to be pointing anything at the Secret Service agent, even if it is your phone, and just get on the ground, get low so that they can see over the crowd and identify a threat if it pops up.
Yeah. Really, really interesting analysis there. And if you're just joining us now, obviously you've likely heard the news that there was an assassination attempt on former President Trump's life. He survived it. It grazed over his right ear. It looks like maybe part of his right ear was hit. Unfortunately, an attendee was killed. There's another in critical condition. We're praying for that person for sure. But I want to roll back that incident one more time here for those just joining us. Maybe you haven't seen it. And also, if you have seen it, listen, as Chuck said, and I've kind of found the same thing to be true, that something new, you kind of notice something different every time. And you can hear, Chuck talked about the Secret Service and the activity there. So take a look at that as we watch this shocking incident, this assassination attempt on President Trump's life here earlier today in Western Pennsylvania.
Thing that said, take a look at what happened.
Move to spare. Hold. When you're ready. On you.
Ready?
Move.
Up.
Move. Go.
Up. Hawkeye's here.
Hawkeye's here. Move it to spare.
Spare, get ready. Spare, get ready.
We ready?
Down. Down.
Are we good?
Shooters down.
Shooters down. Are we good to move?
Down. We're good to move.
We're clear.
We're
Let's
clear.
move. Let's move.
We're clear.
Come on.
Let me get my shoes.
I got you, sir. I got you, sir.
Let me get my shoes.
Hold that in your head. It's bloody.
So we got to move to the bus. Move to the bus.
Let me get my shoes.
Okay. Put your shoes down. Put the shoe.
Watch out.
All right, we are going to try to bring in now CBN's Tara Mergener, who was at the rally today. Tara, can you hear me?
Yeah, Dan, I can hear you. What a day it was. There's been so much talk about the aftermath of this. Let me just give you a look at the scene here outside of the fairgrounds just a couple hours later after this shooting. We've got a line of traffic coming out of here. We have people
Are you
still
guys hearing
milling
her?
around. I would say I would say that the word I would say that the word here is shock. It's awe. It is sadness leading up to the rally today. People were happy. There were, I haven't seen any head count yet, but those fairgrounds, they were absolutely packed. It was wall to wall people buying up merchandise. Everybody was enthusiastic. Everybody optimistic about Trump's chances and perhaps hearing who the vice presidential nominee was. And right now, it is just sadness. It is people comforting each other in the aftermath of this, as people trying to get out of the fairgrounds all this time later. And people are telling me tonight they are angry, they are hurt, they are worried about the country, and people even told me they really knew that this was coming. So I've got some folks here who actually were up close and personal to this when it happened. This is Lori. Lori, yeah, Lori, you were up close. Where were you inside the rally at the time this happened?
We were about 10 rows back, right in front of her,
So
right in the middle.
What did you see?
You heard the shots from the snipers on the roof. There was 3 to 4 snipers on this side and 3 to 4 snipers on that side. And you heard the shots, and you seen, I'm going to call him President Trump, and you seen him go down. You heard everybody just screaming, and it was very scary because we were all, having a great time and just loving everything that was happening. And it's horrible, that somebody else lost their life because of this horrible human who did this.
It was elbow to elbow in there. It
Yes.
was hot as can
It was
be.
hot. We were all there for hours, beyond hours, and we were all having, singing and dancing and just, strangers becoming friends. It was a wonderful time.
So when you heard the shots ring out, you got all these people really jammed in there, really as far as the eye could see.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was amazing. Actually, it was incredible. It was actually incredible to sit and witness all this.
So the shots happened, and everybody dives.
Mostly everybody, yeah, mostly everybody got down. Yeah, mostly everybody dove down onto the ground, screaming, petrified, as you can only imagine. My main concern was my 2 friends that were with me, because they have young children, and I was worried about them the most, making sure they were okay, so I stayed strong for them. They were very scared, and I wanted to get them out.
No one knew whether or not President Trump, or perhaps future President
Yes.
Trump again, whether he was hurt, what happened to him.
Well, he got straight. He got up. He was wanting to get back up, and he had the fist up in the air and everything. So
how relieved were you? Because a lot of people really just feared
very,
the worst.
very, very relieved to see him get back up. He's a strong man, and that's for this country. Somebody like him.
Do you feel this would discourage you to go to another rally?
No.
What are your thoughts tonight?
No, I'm not afraid. I will be behind this man wherever he goes. He gives me strength. And, that's what we need for this country right now. I was scared, yes, but that's not going to stop me. I mean, we could be scared walking across the street. Does that mean we're not going to walk across the street? So that's how I feel. It was scary, yes, but I'll get over it.
I'm glad you're okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dan, we've got a lot of people around here tonight who were around at different vantage points. We've got a couple of folks over here. I don't know, Jay, do you feel like you're up to chatting with me? Okay. Is this your... Maybe off camera. Maybe off camera. That's okay. Yeah, Jay was also there. A lot of people feeling very traumatized by this still. I know you're very upset tonight as well. What did you see? What did you hear?
I hear the sound, and it happened right in front of me. But when I sat down there, and honestly, I thought it would happen today, and that's why it scared me, because I just never want it happen to Donald Trump.
You were saying you had a bad feeling earlier
I
today.
had the bad feeling.
Why did you feel that? Was it
I don't know.
concern for?
That is my instinct. It's always happened like this. And all of my friends here, because we are all volunteers, so we had the chance to sit right in, like behind Donald Trump and hold both sides. But I just say like no, I didn't want it today. And then I feel I want to say sorry for the man who passed away today.
There was.
He's a hero.
There is talk, not confirmed, that
But whoever.
right, whoever was hurt. Yeah.
We will try to do something for our family also.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Dan, there's no shortage of people who are just kind of hanging around here tonight because they're just don't want to leave. This gentleman over here, you were also very close.
Yeah, we were 30 feet behind them. I heard 2 zings, bullets going by. I grabbed, and they just piled on top of them. The Secret Service yanked her down and jumped on her body, and I jumped over her head.
You know, what's amazing is they kind of piece together what exactly happened here. I'm hearing over and over that people were strangers, like you say. We're just helping each other, and they're helping each other here tonight. You were giving away bottles of water to people.
Anybody wants anything, we've been doing it.
As a Trump supporter,
Yeah.
What are your thoughts tonight about what happened and going forward?
I'll let you comment on that there.
This has not changed our dedication to our next 47th president, and we wish him well now, because this has not swayed us in any way, shape, or form, and we want to pull together and support him.
Were you close enough so that you knew where the shots were coming from? Again,
I could tell because I'm a hunter, and I could tell by they were coming from the right-hand side of me, and then heard a bunch of popping, and I believe that was the Secret Service taking the predator down.
Okay. Could you see any of that?
No.
Okay.
No.
There are reports.
There were bleachers wrapped around us, and the shots were coming at an angle, but you could hear the zinging, and I knew when you hear the zing before the pop, and that's how it was.
Yeah. Anything else you can tell me that you noticed when you were inside? You know, before this happened.
Several people getting carried out, whether it be heat exhaustion or they were actually shot. I know that 2 of them were actually shot because there was blood there on the bleacher. But the rest, I couldn't tell you. They were exhaustion and just, collapsing or whatever. But that's
it was extreme. You can't even estimate how hot it was in there. There were just so many people, and you had to go into the venue hours earlier. Trump was a little bit late tonight, so you've already been in there several hours. So people were collapsing, or at least a number of them were collapsing from heat exhaustion, presumably from being out in that field so long. So again, it's hard to say why. Right, they were being carried out. Right. Sir, were you in there as well?
I was sitting next to my sister, and I was there to take care of her when everything started to happen.
There was so much excitement earlier today in the run-up to this, as hot as it was, right? Yeah. What are your thoughts tonight going forward, and your take on what you saw in there today?
I honestly don't think this changes a single thing. We need to do what we do. One person doesn't change the other organization or the path. It shouldn't. We all know exactly who we are and who we're voting for, and this doesn't change a single thing. And it shouldn't.
There are a lot of people, we mentioned this just a few minutes ago, were really coming together tonight.
Yes.
Amidst all this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We were one blanket on top of each other, up there protecting each other, until everything was fine. But yeah, we were great together. I don't know I'm from Central PA. I'm from Lewisburg, so I don't know hardly anybody out here except for my sister and brother-in-law. But everybody treated me exactly the same, like I was from here, and that's how we do.
Certainly, this is not at all the way anybody wanted the day to end.
Right. Absolutely not. But we all came together, and we're still all behind President Trump and everything he has to do. There isn't a single thing that hasn't changed.
I will tell you, after the Secret Service picked him up, he put his arm up like this. So if I was a betting man, Trump's coming back, and he's coming back to Butler County and Nelson Township.
You think he'll be back?
Oh, yeah. That's my guess.
Guys.
Thank you.
Dan, obviously a lot of emotion here tonight. Still that line of traffic just kind of inching out of you. A lot of people trying to come to terms with what happened today. A lot of very, very sad people. We could just take a quick peek at this. Isaiah panning over. Again, here comes the line of traffic. This is now a crime scene. A lot of things they're still trying to piece together, still waiting for more word on President Trump, of course. But the one thing I think is fair to say is all the people we have met tonight along the way and all the people we talked to before this happened are very united tonight, Dan.
All right. Well, CBN's Tara Mergener, thank you so much for that report on the ground. Compelling to hear from everyone who is there and witnessed it, and you can see the emotion there on people's faces. And President Biden was scheduled to speak, and we will get you those comments as soon as we have them. He was going to give a press conference on everything that happened there, but David, Chuck, well, David, I'll start with you. Any response? What was your reaction to seeing those people there that Tara talked to?
Well, I mean, these are MAGA patriots, and it doesn't surprise me what we heard. And this is the narrative that the Trump supporters have been saying all along. There's been a couple developments while Tara's been doing some great reporting on the ground. As you mentioned, Dan, Biden is going to speak. He's going to speak to the nation about this. I'm just looking at the actual details. He says he's going to deliver remarks to the nation after an apparent assassination attempt on Trump. We don't know if that's going to be from the Oval Office. We're not sure right now. We're waiting on that. Some other developments here. The Biden campaign is going to pause all communications on social media, and also television ads. They're taking down all the campaign stuff running against Trump. They're trying to do that as quickly as possible. So that's a development as well. And a couple of other things here. I've been working the sources that I have. I spoke to, or I should say, I texted with Hope Hicks. Of course, we know Hope from the first time around in the 2016 Trump campaign and presidency, and she hasn't been with him the last couple of years, but is still close to him. And I texted her, and she said, I wasn't there. I don't know all the details. But then she said this to me, quote, "I'm praying every second and have been for the last 2 hours." That's from Hope Hicks in a text. So Corey Lewandowski also responded to me, but Corey wasn't there as well. He said he is the toughest, well, I can't say the words, but he's the toughest you-know-what ever. I've been to hundreds of rallies. This is insane, is what he said. So those are a few updates here in terms of what we're getting. Oh, one last thing. The Secret Service situation is now coming under scrutiny. I'm trying to get a little bit more information on this. We understand he did not have full, whatever that means. Chuck, maybe you can talk to this, but he did not have full Secret Service protection. I'm trying to understand exactly what that would entail. But there is calls for the head of Secret Service to resign and others based on some of what happened today. But once again, we don't have all the details. And, truth matters, right? That's what we say here at CBN News. And we're trying to kind of slow this down as best we can. And we want to hedge everything, but we also want to give you attribution on everything we say. And I'll just tell you, in terms of attribution on the Secret Service stuff, that's coming from a former Secret Service agent, Dan Bongino, who, of course, everybody knows at Fox News now, who is saying that the Secret Service heads need to roll the Secret Service for this, but we're not quite sure what the details of that are exactly.
All right. Now, hey, David, I just wanted to hop in here. We do have the words from President Biden, who addressed the nation. So let's take a look. Take a look at what he had to say. As courtesy of CNN.
Based on what we know now, I have tried to get a hold of Donald. He's with his doctors. Apparently he's doing well. I plan on talking to them shortly, I hope, when I get back to the telephone. Look, there's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this. And I want to thank the Secret Service and all the agencies, including the state agencies, that have been engaged in making sure that people and we have more detail to come relative to other people maybe injured in the audience. I don't have all that detail. We'll make that available to you. I may be able to come back a little later tonight, but we'll put out a statement if I'm not able to if it's not convenient for you all. But the bottom line is that the Trump rally was a rally that he should have been able to be conducted peacefully without any problem. But the idea that there's political violence or violence in America like this is just unheard of. It's just not appropriate. And everybody must condemn it. Everybody. I'll keep you informed, and if I'm able to speak to Donald, I'll let you know that as well. But so far, it appears he's doing well, number one. Number two, that there's thoroughly investigating what happened to anyone else in the audience. We have some reports, but not final reports. And every agency in the federal government, I'm going back to my phone to speak with the federal agencies that are being put together again to give me an updated briefing. Has anything happened? They learned any more in the last couple hours. So thank you very much, and I hope I get to speak to them tonight, and I'll get back to you if I do. Okay?
Mr. President, do you think this was an assassination?
All right, there you have it. The President of the United States responding to the horrifying scene that unfolded earlier this evening in Butler County, Pennsylvania, north of Pittsburgh. An assassination attempt on former President Trump's life, and he survived it. He raised his fist triumphantly to the crowd as he was whisked off by a Secret Service. So quickly, gentlemen, David, I'll start with you, and then Chuck, let's get reaction to Biden's comments here and what he had to say to the American people.
Well, it's obviously appropriate. It is the right tone and the right measure of what he needed to say, and I don't think he could have said anything else. I mean, he sure wasn't, you would hope, was it going to make this political at all, obviously. And so I don't think it shocked me. Chuck, I'd be curious to get your thoughts here. It didn't shock me at all as to what he said. And, you know, these are moments in American history where you would like everyone to come together. And the sad part is we have a country where people come together for about 12 minutes and a cup of coffee. And that's what I fear is what's happening now, that Biden will say this. And we now have a statement from Kamala Harris as well, which I guess I could read, but it pretty much echoes everything that everybody else is saying. So we're going to get these statements. And then what's going to happen? Are we going to go back to politics as usual? So I guess we just wait and see how this develops. But once again, I'm glad he went to the camera and said and did something, and that's where we're at.
All right, Chuck, your thoughts?
Well, I'm seeing being reported. Somebody reported to the Federalist that the Secret Service has been asking for more resources from the Department of Homeland Security and has been ignored. And so, I mean, it's obvious that there's an interview with a man who saw the shooter climb up on the roof with a rifle and army crawl up to the edge of the roof. And he was yelling at the police and pointing this guy out. and the police just sort of ignored him and weren't paying attention. He was trying to get people's attention, apparently, and up until the point where he heard the shots. That tells us, A, this was not like a bolt action rifle because the shots were too quick for that. So it was likely some sort of AR platform or something like that. The counter snipers did their job very well and took out the shooter in very short order, just in a matter of seconds. But one has to ask why that rooftop had not been covered already, because that's the Secret Service's job. And if the Secret Service is being overwhelmed by the numbers of people that are attending these rallies and is being ignored when they ask for more resources to make sure that people can be safe, you can be sure that that will be a scandal going forward over the next days and weeks. We're going to find out a lot about this. This thing is going to get parsed 19 ways from Sunday. But I think the bottom line we need to remember here is that one of the two major candidates in our presidential election just about got assassinated, came within a half an inch today. And this is a really bad thing. I mean, it's obviously a bad thing when somebody gets shot. It's obviously a bad thing when somebody in the audience ends up taking a bullet as well. But no, this is much bigger than that. We're watching history in the making right here. And this is one of those moments where you're going to tell your grandchildren about, and you're going to remember where you were when you heard that Donald Trump was almost shot or was shot at a campaign rally. Thank God he survived. And I agree with David. I think that I was just keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that Joe Biden wouldn't come out and try to make this about gun control. And it sounded like he was about to go there, and then he didn't. So that makes me happy, because what we really need right now is some leadership and some coming together from both sides. Just for everybody should say, this is not acceptable in our country. Unfortunately, some of the things that are trending on X right now are, the too bad he missed. The guy had one job. He didn't, that sort of thing. And that's just absolutely inappropriate. And if it was the other way around, those people would be screaming if there were anybody on the right that said anything like that.
Yeah. And I would just say this, guys, we're getting some reports from Pennsylvania. Let me tell you exactly who they're from. It's from excuse me, just double check this here. Pennsylvania police, and that sounds very generic, so we're still waiting. But Pennsylvania police are telling a couple different news outlets that Trump was not struck by a bullet, but hit by glass fragments from the teleprompter. Now, that we have no confirmed reports of that. I'm just telling you what's now out there by this, quote, Pennsylvania police source. You could put together a scenario where that could happen, but as you look more closely, we'd have to look at the video. I don't see any fragments from the teleprompter. It looks like it's intact, but I can't really tell, obviously. Anyhow, who knows? But I'm just telling you that is out there as well. And I don't mean out there from, John in his basement somewhere. I'm talking about there are sources that are police sources that are saying that it may be that. So we're waiting to find out, was it a bullet, was it glass? Either way, it obviously was an assassination. I say obviously. Yeah. We'll wait on that too, technically, but it does appear that it was an assassination attempt for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of you guys touched on it, and Chuck, you were just touching on it as well. I mean, this is a perilous time for the country. I mean, there's going to be a lot of emotion after what happened today on both sides of the aisle. And so I think as Christians, it's incumbent on us to first and foremost pray, and pray. And so before we sign off today, I want to give everyone in our audience a chance to pray along with us. So David and Chuck, if you don't mind, let's just close this thing in prayer. We gotta pray for our country. We gotta pray for former President Trump, for President Biden, for this person who is fighting for their life, for the family of this person who died at this at this rally today, senselessly lost their life in this situation. So why don't we take this and more before the Lord, and I'll kick it off here. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for who you are, for being a good God, a good Father to us, sovereign over all. You have a sovereign purpose in everything, even when we can't see it. And so we're thankful for you. We're thankful for your goodness and your mercies on us in a fallen world, in a broken world where we see so much brokenness, where we see the evil that is in the world today. And we would just pray that more people would be drawn to you, that people wouldn't resort to this, more of this sort of evil, but that they would turn to you, that they would soften their hearts, that they would ultimately submit themselves to you and to your saving grace that you gave us through Christ on the cross. So I just lift up everybody involved today, as I said, and Lord, we just commit them into your hands.
Yes, Lord, and we just want to just thank you right now to know that you're on the throne. This is not about Joe Biden or Donald Trump or Republican or Democrat, Lord. This is about you. This is about giving you all the glory, Lord. And Lord, our politics is broken. Our world is broken. We know that sin has entered the world into each and every one of us. Lord, I pray for President Trump that he heals and recovers. I pray for Joe Biden that he's able to set the right tone and the right juncture point in our nation as we move forward. I pray, Lord, for people that are out there that are feeling angry and frustrated at what we've seen unfold by both parties and by politicians on both sides, Lord. I just pray specifically that anger will subside. More importantly, that they'll turn to you as their hope and their only hope. Lord, I just thank you so much that in the midst of all of this, that this is a situation, Lord, where we can turn what is meant for evil into good, and that we can literally take what's happening in our nation today that seems like we're going backwards, but to use it to go 2 steps forward, in not just with what's going on in America, but what's going on in the people's hearts and lives out there, so people can actually turn to you, because ultimately you're the saving grace of all of this. We thank you, Lord.
Lord God, we thank you that in times of trouble, you are our steadfast hope. You're even more apparent to us. You're more powerful to us. You're easier for us to see when it seems like everything else is falling apart, because you're the only unmoving thing in our lives, in our universe. Lord, I pray for all the people who were at that rally today. I especially pray for the family of that woman who was killed. Lord, I just am heartbroken that she just came to a political rally to express her support for her preferred candidate, and she was killed for it because of the hatred in someone's heart. Lord, I pray that would not be in vain, that you would bring something good out of this. We know that you could have stopped that shooter before he fired, Lord, but you are powerful enough to do that. But you're so much more powerful than that you could let that shooter have free will and do whatever horrible sin he wanted to do. And yet you could turn it into something good in the long run for our country, for that family, for Donald Trump, for all of us. Lord, you are so powerful. And so I pray that we would just look to you in this time, that more people would be so frustrated and so fed up with the division and the hatred and the hate mongering that happens in our country, that we would just cry out to you, and we would find you in that moment, and that you would be our peace. You would bring us peace. Give us that peace that passes all understanding, Lord, as we go forward into this tumultuous election, to know that you are the one who raises up leaders, and that whoever you put in the White House, Lord, let us trust in your wisdom, and let us not be those who shrink back, but those who stand strong and firm in our faith. And that when other people are so afraid because the world is just falling apart, that we believers would stand so firm, would be so fearless because of our faith in you, that other people would be able to see that fearlessness and would want what we have. I pray, Lord, that many people's lives would be changed because of what happened today. That's how you make something good out of something evil. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Chuck, David, CBN's Chuck Holton, CBN's David Brody. Thank you so much for being here. Also, CBN's Tara Mergener for our breaking live coverage of this horrific assassination attempt on former President Trump's life in Butler County, Pennsylvania, at a rally earlier this evening. We thank you all so much for being here for more continuing coverage on the things that are happening here and all the developments that'll be coming in. Go to cbnnews.com. I'm Dan Andros. Have a great night, everyone. God bless.